Among the deals we have done for our clients, there have been some extreme cases. We really hope by sharing those horror stories, it can help you in the future identify some signals so you can move away from a deal that was not going to happen anyhow very quickly, to avoid all this time, emotion invested in deals like this.
Hi guys, so today we decided to do something different in this episode of our YouTube channel. So we'll be talking about some horror movie experience that we sometimes face while working as buyer's agents here in Portugal. So we had the deal for our client of a small villa close to the sea in a municipality in the south of Portugal. And when everything was agreed and the promissory contract was ready to be signed, the seller came out with the brilliant idea that, hey, I would like to have the right to go on spending 2 weeks per year in the property after it changing hands to your client's ownership. At the beginning, it was like, how is this possible? How this person can think that this is acceptable?
Yes, this is the typical case that the owner is extremely attached to her property. And basically, we did rounds of a negotiation. And to us, it even felt out of this world. We have to negotiate, including this term, right? First from 2 weeks to 0. And then she comes back, what about 1 week? And then we said no. And then what about we pay you? And then we said no, because the new owner will be living there as well. So back and forth, I think now finally she understands this is something unreasonable to ask. And another horror story also happens very recently. This is the deal we lost for our client.
I like those ones.
We don't like those ones, but sometimes it happens. In Portugal, you have something called preference right. Preference right means you need to announce to the public how much you are buying this property for before the deed happens. Because, this is a Golden Visa property and we are rushing for the time. While the lawyer is drafting for the promissory contract, we were making this announcement also. A little bit special extra about this case is when the property attached has a rustic land, you need to first send registered mail to the surrounding neighbors to see if they're interested to buy. With the price exposed, of course, so they have the preference right to buy it if they're interested. As Rafael is our master negotiator, we believe we negotiate a very good price for our client. When we send out the letter to the surrounding neighbors, with the agreed negotiated price, 2 neighbors in the same day made a full cash offer.
So it's terrible, because it was such a great deal. Our clients were so happy.
So excited.
And it was like throwing a bucket of cold water over them when they were starting to make plans about what to do in that plot.
This is really a great piece of plot with a house attached on this beautiful rustic land. So because of this rustic land, we need to go through this process. And then we really believed we got a great deal for our client. Obviously, the neighbors, they also thought so.
And they took over the deal from our clients. So when this happens, the neighbors have the right to use those preference rights and take over the deal with the same agreement, with the same numbers. And this was exactly what happened. And our clients lost it, unfortunately. And we needed to start a new search for another property for them to purchase.
And thank God we found them a great one as well. Another story related to Golden Visa is that, I don't know if you remember, that seller forgot to register the first floor of the building.
In this case, it's a very old property that was divided among the heirs. They later on divide the old property into several smaller properties. One of them was selling, and we were trying to close it for a client of ours. What happened is that when they divided the older property, they ended up at the conservatory to register it with just the upper floor. They forgot to include the ground floor. This means that at the end, on the conservatory documents, the property had half of the size that it should have. And of course, the notaries don't let the deed to proceed this way. The lawyers, of course, that work for our clients do not allow this also to make it into the deed. And so we needed to work with the sellers for arranging the documents in the right way before any decision about the deed itself.
I think it's pretty funny because in Portugal, when you publish a listing online, there's no one to verify it with original paperwork. So imagine when we recommend this listing, when we vet the listing, we say, hey, to our clients, this is great. This is, for example, 160 square meters and this and that. It fits the criteria, da, da, da. And when we got the registration of the land, we were like, why this is only half? So we start investigating. And the seller's agent was also shocked because among his career, he also didn't see someone just forgot to register the whole floor of this 2-floor building.
That reminds me another one that they were mentioning a property with 3 bedrooms and 100 and something square meters. So we were interested in it and we actually went to see it. So the 3 bedrooms were there, but one of it was completely illegal. It was made by the owner. He actually decided just to add another room on the terrace, and at the end they were advertising something that was not really true, at least in terms of legal documents, because in reality that property had only 2 bedrooms, official 2 bedrooms.
Yeah.
The third one was illegal.
Yeah. So we have another horror story. This one is actually horror story and made us pretty
Mad.
angry, yes, because this is probably one of the most unprofessional agent we ever dealt with in Portugal. Because most of the time we've been very lucky because we also have done deals with the same agent or same agency. So we know the code of conduct. Most of the people are very professional and is proactively solving the problem.
Yeah.
So in Portugal, when we reach the agreement with the seller, it's a verbal gentleman's agreement, right? And after this step, everyone will go gather the legal documents and then we will talk back and forth about drafting the promissory contract. This is under the premises of we are going through with the deal. So we have this young couple, our clients. They already moved to Lisbon with many suitcases.
16.
Yeah, they've been staying in the Airbnb with a toddler and 2 dogs. So of course they're in a rush of buying something. The only thing is they're buying with mortgage, which is fine. They have a good budget. So we've been actively looking for property for them. Eventually we found the property. They agreed. The agent said, okay, please send over their ID, and we drafted the promissory contract back and forth. And all of a sudden,
Radio silence.
she stopped responding. And then our hunch was something's not right. So we've been emailing her, calling her. We also contacted her management of her agency. We contacted anyone we know that working in the same agency, just asking where can we add some pressure. And finally, we reached out to one of the management and then we explained the story. And the next day she replied to us.
So this agent, while had an agreement with us and with our client, and while the lawyers were drafting the promissory contract and actually was already on their side for signing, she kept showing to other potential buyers the apartment and ended up making an agreement with someone else that took over the deal that we had for our clients. And apparently this was done in such an unprofessional way, without telling absolutely nothing to us, without leaving any room for another arrangement that eventually could save the deal for our client. And this person thought that it was okay to sell the apartment to someone else just because that person doesn't need to apply for a mortgage and could eventually use their own funds for closing the deal. It was so bad. It was the first time that happened to us, and we do many deals per year. It was so bad that we decided actually to make an official and formal complaint about this person to the official agency that rules the real estate
Association.
agents.
Yeah.
And they also did an official complaint to the master franchise of this brand.
Her excuse is because when we have our clients applying for mortgage, we always push for the term. If the appraisal from the bank doesn't match the number that we were asking, the deal falls through, because we don't want our clients to be cornered, losing the down payment when signing the promissory contract while cannot get the loan approved based on this property. So her excuse is because, other buyers doesn't have this contingency clause. It was never fair because this was never communicated to us, and she just basically closed the door. For us, we felt very angry towards her, this way of conducting business. We also feel very sorry for our clients, because this is sometimes not only the time, it's the emotional
draining sometimes.
This also shows the agent, the seller's agent or the leasing agent actually have a lot of power here. I'm not even sure the owners are aware of what's all this going on behind the scene. We just lost this deal for our clients. Now we're actively searching for another option. Okay, that's it for today. We have way more stories to share, so let us know if you like content like this in the comments below.
And as always, please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. We post new videos every week.
And don't forget to follow us on TikTok and Instagram. And thank you so much for watching.
See you guys next time.
Bye.